What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your favorite depressed Dairy Queen worker here, back at it again to drop What If Deku Was... Wrong series. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Zether, and today we will be covering What If Naruto Was Bardock's Reincarnation. And man, oh man, what if you guys are all in store for, because today we will be discussing if Naruto was the reincarnation of one of the greatest Saiyans in my opinion. The man who literally birthed Kakarot, aka Goku, into existence, and somebody who embodied the pure ruthlessness and the combat skill of a Saiyan. Bardock has to be one of my favorite non-main cast characters, just because of the fact that he just embodies everything that I believe a Saiyan is: the ruthlessness, the power, just the cunningness, you know what I mean? Like, Bardock is just perfect in a sense, in the terms of a character of what a Saiyan should be like to me. And having the chance to cover a what if with this character, I think that this is probably going to be one of the best and one of the weirdest what ifs that I will probably make, just because I feel like Bardock somewhat has some Black Air Force energy within him, so you best believe Naruto's going to be having that same ruthless Saiyan warrior combat driven mentality. So if you guys are excited for that, then make sure to go down below, smash that like button. But with nothing else to say from me, let's get started into the what if.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
Alright, so before I actually start this what if, I need to give credit where credit is due. Rogex. Now, if you guys don't know who Rogex is, he pretty much makes the same type of content that I make, and he has made a plethora of Naruto x Dragon Ball content what ifs on his channel. And one of the things that he frequently does is have the Naruto which he covers turn into a great ape. So I'm going to be ripping out a book from your textbook, Rogue. Hopefully you're not mad, but here are a bunch of his videos that he's uploaded in case you guys want to go check those out after you watch this video. But with that being said, let's get into the story officially. So where I would like this story to all start off is obviously on the day when Naruto was born. Now, just like the original, Obito is still going to be coming in, aka the masked man, and when he does, Minato would still be caught off guard, because Obito would end up pretty much taking a baby Naruto and placing an explosive tag on him. From here, Minato would use his flying Raijin to grab Naruto and pretty much throw the blanket off of him, but from here, Obito would take Kushina and begin extracting the Nine Tails out of her body. With her being in a weakened state, it becomes heavily apparent that this is not going to be no crazy feat to do. And so, he ends up extracting the Nine Tails and the beast would end up going wild. Now, a young Naruto at this point would basically be like running around through the village. And no, not a baby Naruto, because that's impossible, he's a baby. No, sorry, Minato would pretty much teleport to another part of the village and pretty much let Naruto down in a crib. However, this place that he put him at actually had a full view of the moon. And now this is probably where many of you guys are like, okay, I see where this is going. Yeah, Naruto at this point was born with a tail. And Naruto not only was born with a tail, but he was also born with Saiyan-like black hair. Now, many of you guys might be like, yo, black hair? What? Like, didn't Minato question this? Yeah, he probably would have, because he would have been like, hey, yo, black hair. Kushina has red hair. I have yellow hair. What's going on here? And yeah, he definitely did question it. But with everything going on the way that it was, Minato had no time to question any of this. So just like any good father would, he would pretty much end up grabbing Naruto, and through like a sort of like weird gut feeling, Minato could tell this was indeed his child. So what Minato would go on to do from here is pretty much grab Naruto and put him in the crib. From here, a young Naruto would look up at the sky and feast his eyes on the moon for the very first time. Now, when he does this, Minato had pretty much just ended up fighting Obito and slammed the Rasengan into his back. And when Naruto would feast his eyes on the moon, immediately the world would begin to essentially slow down. Naruto's heart would begin beating faster and faster as his eyes would start glitching in from like a red color to his normal blue. They would begin to pretty much fade in and out, in and out, in and out, and the young Naruto's body would begin expanding more and more. As fur would begin growing on him, his nails would grow animalistic, and his features would change to that of the Ozaru, the great ape of the Saiyan warrior race. At this point, Naruto would stand at about the same height as the Nine Tails. And it is at this point where what would end up happening here is Naruto would proceed to immediately like look around, and the first thing that he would see would of course be the Nine Tails. Now, when he sees the Nine Tails ravaging, the Nine Tails would turn his attention towards Naruto and shoot a gigantic Bijou bomb at Naruto. But at this point, Naruto seeing this coming at his direction, he would quite literally let out a gigantic scream, and in an instant, the Nine Tails would be completely eradicated. Naruto would shoot a mouth beam right at the direction of the Nine Tails, completely eviscerating it and all of the power that it had within the Bijou bomb. Now, many people might be able to argue, hey yo, like that's kind of like weird, like how come the Nine Tails is losing to a baby Ozaru Naruto? Now, I'm gonna put this in a level that many of you guys will understand. Obviously, Saiyans aren't born weak by any means. Now, Bardock was a low-class Saiyan warrior, so that stands to reason that he probably wasn't the strongest. But characters in the Dragon Ball Z universe with power levels of 200, aka Piccolo, like at the beginning of the Saiyan saga, and Master Roshi was able to blow up moons and stuff like that. So I think it would perfectly stand to reason that something with the power level of, let's say he starts off with the power level of 50 times 10 would end up pretty much having a power level of 500. So with that, I definitely believe that one mouth beam from the Ozaru would have been more than enough to eradicate the Nine Tails. So in case you guys want to debate that with me, you can go down below and let me know what you guys think about this part. But since this is already taking up a huge portion of the story, I think it's safe to say we should just go on. So like I was saying, the Ozaru would pretty much end up blasting the Nine Tails out of existence, and once this happens, Hiruzen would pretty much come in with his giant staff, and Enma coming in being like, stop it! As at this point, he would shoot the gigantic staff right into baby Naruto's like Ozaru eye, and at this point, Minato would pretty much come in and proceed to essentially like grab Naruto's like tail. Like he would grab Naruto's tail, and at this point, Naruto would begin like shrieking. He would be like what's going on? You know what I mean? And it's at this point that what's it called? Kushina and Minato are all like in the same vicinity. You know what I mean? They're all in like this huge area. Minato would tell Hiruzen to back away, that he's going to be taking care of this and that he knows a way to do this. He would say it's his son, and if it's anyone's anyone's responsibility to take care of this thing, it's his. And so Minato would begin to pretty much teleport all around the Ozaru and essentially use a kunai to weaken him, thinking, come on Naruto, snap out of it, questioning to himself how this is even possible. I mean, his young son was just born, and all of a sudden he transformed into a huge gigantic monster. Minato would be completely in the dark, not knowing what it is that's going on at this moment. But what I will say happens is Naruto would end up pretty much losing control, and from here what would end up happening is Naruto would end up aiming a blast right at his mother's direction. Now he would shoot the beam right at Kushina, essentially eradicating his own mother. And at this point, when Minato sees this, he would begin like tearing up in his eyes. His concentration would pretty much just completely be ruined, I guess you could say. But when this ends up happening, Naruto would then look at Minato's direction, and in like a huge Ozaru rage, he would begin stomping on the ground and then pounding at his chest, as he would just pretty much like jump up into the air. And with Minato not having too much of an area to get away from, he would pretty much slam down, and as Minato would grab hold of Naruto's tail, Naruto would shoot a beam right at the ground, which would cause the entire area to be blown up in a giant smoke. Now, Minato at this point would already be extremely low in chakra, and the young Naruto's body would proceed to pretty much fall on top of Minato. He would fall on Minato in his huge giant state, crushing Minato to death. Minato would die. At this point, Minato wouldn't die, I don't think. Minato would definitely survive that. But when baby Naruto lands on top of Minato, Minato would hold his son in his arms for just like a couple of seconds before Minato would finally breathe his last breath, and Hiruzen would arrive on scene a couple minutes later, only seeing a smiling Minato with his arms wrapped around his son, as Minato was just sitting there smiling. And a young Naruto at this point would be passed out on top of his father. After this, we're going to be having a time skip of, let's say, 4 years. At this point, Hiruzen has gone down to train Naruto, and no, not train him, but pretty much educate him in the ways of the world and teach him right from wrong. He would have also told him that a great giant beast was the one who ended up taking the life of, well, Minato. And because Danzo doesn't exactly know that Naruto was this huge, like, beast thing, he doesn't have any right to be like, oh, you know, it was you. The only person that knows of this is Hiruzen. And since Naruto is still 4 years old, I'm just going to be saying that it doesn't really come into play until a couple years later. But with that said, I believe that young Naruto would definitely be a rowdy kid, somebody who has a really high love for battle. And ever since Naruto was a kid and he has seen ninjas fight around the village, Naruto has always wanted to participate in that, at least somewhat. Okay guys, there's an ice cream truck passing by. I don't know if you guys can even hear it, but if you can, I do apologize. Anyways, getting back to the story, Naruto would be a pretty rowdy kid. Think basic Saiyan, okay? He is a Saiyan child after all. Not exactly full-blooded, but he has pretty much Saiyan blood going through his veins, you know what I mean? This is a kid who is just powerful in every sense of the word. And many of you guys are probably going to be like, all right, but does he have chakra? Like, how's that gonna work? Yes, Naruto will have chakra in this version, but he's not exactly going to be using that as his main means of fighting. Instead, what I'm going to be having happen is Naruto is going to be a pretty good fighter in terms of hand-to-hand combat. He's going to be having huge amounts of brute raw strength. And as a kid, Hiruzen could tell that Naruto was way physically stronger than any of the other kids that he's ever met. Not only that, but he's way stronger than even his father was at that age. So by the time that Naruto was 4 years old, Hiruzen would end up giving Naruto a couple of scrolls telling him to learn these things and, you know, giving him some basic training exercises to do. And so Naruto would do so. And Naruto would end up growing up being a pretty like outgoing kid who is like just lives for the thrill of a battle. You know what I mean? He is a Saiyan. So what I'm going to be saying is Naruto is going to be looking like, should I make him look like Bardock? If I do, he's going to look so awesome. But if I don't, then it's not going to be Naruto. Keep Naruto the same. Keep Naruto the same. Just black hair, because why not? Saiyan, you know what I mean? So what I'm going to be saying happens after this is Naruto would proceed to essentially continue growing up. Now, by the time that Naruto was about 5 years old, it's at this point that Hiruzen would end up pretty much informing Danzo of what happened that day. And Danzo would end up finding out the information of the fact that Naruto is in fact that great huge beast that was transformed that one day. So he would end up telling everybody that Naruto was this like gigantic beast that transformed in the village so long ago. And a lot of the villagers would be like, no way, but a lot of the other ones would be like, yeah, he's a demon, you know, like he's this and that. But Hiruzen would end up telling them that they are not allowed to say what exactly happened that night to Naruto, because that is classified information. And to spill things like that out to the public would be the same as committing a S-rank crime. So everybody would pretty much have to keep their mouths shut. But I mean, they kind of can't be forced not to call him a demon. So by the time that Naruto gets taken out of Hiruzen's home, Naruto at this point would now have to face the reality of the harsh world and being called a demon every day, being ostracized for simply people having suspicions that he's different. And one thing that definitely is a dead giveaway is the fact that Naruto, he has a tail, or at least some people claim to have seen him have a tail, because of the fact that when he was a kid, he still hadn't had it removed until Naruto pretty much ended up moving out of Hiruzen's place. And so that's barely when they ended up removing the tail. So I'm going to be taking a quick water break because I need something and I am parched. So yeah, BRB. Okay, break time over. Anyways, what would go on here is obviously this young Naruto would begin training with nothing but physical, with using nothing but calisthenics. All right, Naruto would use nothing but calisthenics to essentially build his strength, and he would also begin to try to learn how to pretty much control his chakra. Naruto, at a really young age, would begin to pretty much start mastering the very basics of what chakra control stuff is. And by the time that he was 6 years old, Naruto would be wandering around in the forest when it's during snowy times when he would notice a girl with these bright, like white eyes getting picked on by a couple of kids. When Naruto saw this, he would come running in saying, "Hey, come pick on someone your own size." As the kids would look at Naruto's direction, saying, "Look at that. Some kid really wants to play a hero. My dad said he was a demon or something like that. How about we teach this demon a lesson?" Now the kids would crack their knuckles and be like, yeah, we'll show him not to mess with us. Come on. They would all pretty much say the main kid's name and be like, yeah, get him. As, the kid would run at Naruto's direction, but Naruto would smile and say, as he would rush after him, and he would immediately throw a punch which would hit the kid right in his stomach and send that kid flying into a tree as that kid just bounces off of it, literally ricocheting. He was in critical condition, and the kids would quite literally grab their little friend and get out of there as quickly as possible. As Hinata would say, what's your name? Naruto would look at Hinata, say his name is Naruto Uzumaki, and he would then pretty much be leaving, as he could see that another member of her family who looked similar like to her was nearby. So he pretty much left her there and then proceeded to continue going on with his way. From here, what I think would be best to happen is have Naruto essentially spend the next couple of years learning about ki control. Now, I don't know if I exactly want to give Naruto Ki Blast quite yet, because they are extremely powerful, and it's something that realistically, if given in the world of Naruto, would create for a pretty huge problem, because of the fact that characters in the Dragon Ball world and characters in the Naruto world are just two completely different worlds. Like, you can't mix the two and expect a pretty big story to be created, because many of the threats in the Naruto verse would be taken out quickly. But for the means of this story and the fact that Bardock is who he is, I'm gonna say that I'm going to be giving Naruto base ki attack, so shooting energy beams from his fingers, and I'm not going to be giving him flight quite yet. So that's where he stands about now. What I am going to be saying happens now is I'm going to skip over to their first day of the academy. Now at this point, Naruto has grown in terms of size, in terms of personality, and in terms of what he's like. A lot of times villagers would like to give him a pretty rough time, but anytime that villagers would try so, all that Naruto would do is essentially beat them up. Beat the ever-living life out of them, because of the fact that Naruto does not take disrespect lightly. So this Naruto was grown up with a more of a, like, you mess with me, go ahead, but you're not gonna like the consequences afterwards type of an attitude. And the villagers have been made very aware of this. So a lot of them essentially started leaving Naruto alone because of the fact that they knew that if they mess with that kid, they were in for it. Because a couple of Chunin ranked ninjas have tried to essentially do something about Naruto, saying that, it was his fault that his great granddad or something like that died. So, he's here to claim revenge, but Naruto would obliterate them and just pretty much be on his own way. So I'm going to be saying that the first day of the academy rolls around, and it's at this point that Naruto would just go over to his open seat. When he would sit down, he would see a boy with black hair looking out towards the window. The boy would turn towards Naruto's direction and say, "Hey, my name's," as Naruto would be like, "Yo." He would say, "Out of everybody here, you seem to be the strongest." As, Sasuke would look at him and be like, "Yeah, what's your name?" At this point, Naruto would be ready to pretty much get into a conversation with Sasuke, being like, "Oh, my name's, this, and that." But before that could even happen, a girl with pink hair would approach both of them, and she would look at Naruto saying, "Hey, you're in my seat, beat it." And Naruto would turn towards Sakura's direction and quite literally look at her, puzzled at what she just said, as Sakura would lift her arm into the air and say, "Hey, I said beat it." as she would, lift her arm and go to punch Naruto, but Naruto would grab her fist mid-air and begin crushing it, saying, "I don't like your tone of voice, woman. You better bring it down a couple notches," as he would grip her fist and throw her all the way to the back of the classroom, causing her entire body to be sent flying through the wall. And from here, Ino, who had just walked in the classroom, would be like, "Sakura," you know what I mean? But this is when Naruto would look at her and be like, "What a pesky brat." As from here, he would just look at Iruka sensei, who would go over to Naruto and tell him that he's not allowed to do that. Naruto would say it was just self-defense. She was trying to hit him first and he retaliated. If he has a problem with it, he can take it up with him. And Iruka would be like, "Hey, yo, what? Like, I know this kid ain't trying to challenge me. Like, I know he just beat someone who isn't even a Genin yet, but he's a whole Chunin. No way this kid truly believes he can beat him." So from here, Iruka would say, "All right, just settle down." As, he would give Naruto a weird stare. And at this point, Naruto would just take a seat, look at Sasuke and say, "You asked for my name earlier, right?" Sasuke would look at him. Naruto would say, "The name's Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. But I'm kind of curious about you. That crest on the back of your shirt. That's the Uchiha clan, isn't it?" As, Sasuke would look at him and say, yeah, I'm part of the Uchiha clan." Naruto would say, "That's great. I've heard a lot of you guys are pretty powerful. How about it, kid? How about me and you have a little sparring match? As soon as the school's day's over." Sasuke would look at Naruto and be like, "Sure. I mean, why not?" As from here, Naruto would say, "Sure thing. Well, I look forward to it, Uchiha." As he would proceed to just mind his own business and doze off as Iruka would give all of his instructions. From here, Iruka would tell everybody that they're going to be taking a test just to see where all of them stand. First up, shuriken throwing. Now, when Naruto goes up there, he would pretty much miss everything except for one of the shuriken, which would actually hit. And when it does, he would think, "Not bad, right?" He would look at Sasuke and he would have literally hit all of his marks. In terms of ninja skill, Sasuke's clearly better than Naruto. But in terms of overall brute force and just ability and just like tactician in terms of a fight, Naruto has Sasuke outclassed in every word and sense. So after this, they would have the race. Now Naruto would end up pretty much clearing the track faster than anybody has ever cleared it before, and from here Sasuke would get a pretty good score, but nothing at all near what Naruto got. Naruto would give Sasuke a pretty like a weird smirk, and Sasuke would be like, "Oh, so you want to like challenge me?" And from here, the both of them would pretty much go through the rest of the things as sort of rivals, until finally the last thing of the day would be like sparring. Now, in terms of who Naruto's going to have to spar against, I'm going to be changing it from the usual Sasuke to Kiba. Now, when Sasuke does hear Kiba's name, he would think this is going to be interesting. And from here, Kiba would come in with Akamaru, as he would simply just say, "All right, Akamaru, let's go." As immediately he would like run over to Naruto's direction, as Naruto would duck under his punch and Akamaru would come in to bite him, but Naruto would just kick Akamaru off of him, and at this point Kiba would throw himself to try to tackle Naruto. Naruto would spin off of him and grab Kiba by the hairs. He lifts his face up and begins punching him right in the throat. No, he knees him in the throat and then punches him in the face, and Kiba is sent flying out of the circle. As Iruka sensei would be like, "Naruto Uzumaki is the winner." From here, everybody would be like, that was so fast." As Sasuke would be thinking that, wow, this kid's actually really strong physically. He would think he's definitely gonna have to keep his distance if he ends up fighting against someone like him later today. So Sasuke would then be next up, and he would end up facing Choji. So not to say that this is gonna be hard at all, because it really wouldn't. Sasuke would destroy Choji. From here, what I believe what would end up happening next is all of the matches pretty much conclude, and Naruto would just be in the back, just kind of scratching the back of his head, thinking, "Too easy. When am I gonna get an actual challenge?" As from here, he would look at Iruka and say, "Hey, Teach, how about me and you go at it for a little spar? What do you say? Not scared of someone who's less than even a Genin, are ya?" as Iruka would look at Naruto and say, Naruto, you can't seriously expect me to want to fight you, right? As Naruto would say, I don't expect you to want to fight me. I expect you to defend yourself. Naruto would then stretch out his limbs, crack his neck, give him a weird smile, and then rush at Iruka's direction with blinding speeds that Iruka wasn't even able to follow. And at this point, Naruto would throw a kick to which Iruka would think, so fast, slightly and narrowly being able to dodge, as at this point Iruka would pretty much say, fine Naruto, you asked for it. At this point he would say, wind style, wind bullet jutsu, as he would shoot a wind attack at Naruto, hitting him dead on, but Naruto would continue running even as the jutsu hit him. And as Naruto would close the distance and gap between them, Naruto would proceed to say, it's about time I use these little tools of the academy, huh? As he grabs shuriken and just throws them at random directions. Iruka would think, he missed, what's he? As at this point, he was trying to dodge a shuriken, and with dodging them, he ended up pretty much having to let his guard down. So Naruto ended up getting closer and saying checkmate. As at this point, he would punch Iruka dead in the gut, sending Iruka flying, and then at this point, Iruka would get up as Naruto would stand over him and hold him by the collar, saying, even my sensei's weaker than me. Is this some sort of joke? What do they expect from me with these conditions? As at this point, Hiruzen would pretty much be walking nearby, and he would say, come down, Naruto. Naruto would look at Hiruzen and be like, old man. He would look at him and say, why am I here in the academy? Clearly everyone here is nothing but weaklings. What am I even doing here? Iruka would look at Naruto just being like, yeah, what is he doing here? As Hiruzen would be like, well, Naruto, put it simply, you're here because you need to be here. Can't exactly have you joining a little jonin rank just because you're powerful. You need to advance with the rest of your classmates. Whether that's boring or not for you, then that's completely just out of my control. Hiruzen would tell this to Naruto, and Naruto would be like, bogus. You could do something about it. Why don't you, old man? You scared I'm gonna take your throne faster, sooner than later? As Hiruzen would begin laughing, being like, that's not gonna be happening anytime soon, Naruto. You still have a ways to go. Power in this world doesn't exactly mean everything, Naruto. Naruto would listen to those words by Hiruzen and be like, power doesn't mean everything? Clearly delusional, old man. That's all it ever has meant. As from here, Naruto would look at Hiruzen and be like, well, I guess I'll just have to show you the error of your ways then, old man. As he would proceed to let Iruka go, and Iruka, for the rest of the years at the academy, would never bug Naruto. After school, Naruto never even ended up approaching Sasuke. Oh my god, sorry guys. I ate a ton of Chick-fil-A before I started recording this video, and I am bloated to the max. So yeah. Anyways though, guys, let's see what I have happen next. Yeah, time skip through the entire time of in the Genin Academy. Iruka wouldn't do anything, and Naruto would never end up fighting Sasuke that day because of the simple fact that after seeing what Sasuke was able to show, he probably wasn't going to even pose Naruto even a bit of a challenge. So Naruto simply just was like, guess I'll just let him go. From here, what I believe would end up happening next in the story is obviously the day of the graduation would come by. This version of Naruto, because he doesn't have the little nine tails affecting his chakra control, would actually be able to use, well, chakra. And because he can actually use chakra, what I believe would end up happening is Naruto could use the shadow clone and would end up passing the test. Now, in terms of the Mizuki situation, I'm not even going to have Naruto get involved with that because of the fact that I'm just going to say Hiruzen was able to pretty much put a stop to that before it even began. Because that little thing, side mission, like filler thing that happened at the beginning of Naruto, it wouldn't make sense for this version to even handle him. Because realistically speaking, Naruto could obliterate him with a ki blast. That being said, the assignment of Team 7 would still happen just like in canon, and obviously the team would still remain Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. However, what I think would be a pretty funny thing to happen would be to have Kakashi actually not arrive that late because Hiruzen would tell him, hey, maybe try to arrive early this time. So Kakashi would end up arriving pretty much on time, and he would tell the whole team to make it up to the roof. Now, when everybody would end up going, Kakashi would be like, hey, you start off everything, Sakura. Sakura would be like, my name is Sakura, as be like right in the middle of her sentence. Naruto would say, I'll go first. My name's Naruto Uzumaki. I'm gonna be taking the old man's spot as Hokage someday. So you better learn to show me some respect, Kakashi. It's from here, Kakashi would look at Naruto and be like, this kid has some bravado on him. I wish he could actually back it up. And from here, Naruto would say, alright, well, keep talking, pig hair. Oh my god. I seriously need to stop recording these what ifs from my bed. It's so comfy. I'd be wanting to pass out. What's it called? He would say, alright, Pinky, you can go ahead and tell him your little shtick. As from here, Sakura would be like, my shtick? What are you talking about? But Naruto would pretty much be long gone, and from here, he would have pretty much jumped off of the roof saying, I'll meet you tomorrow at the training grounds. The old man already briefed me on what we're gonna have to do after this. As Kakashi would be like, the nerve of that kid. He would think, I'm definitely gonna have to put him in his place the next day. So what would end up ultimately happening is Naruto and the rest of Team 7 would end up, of course, arriving to the what should happen? Yeah, the full team would end up pretty much arriving at the training area, and when they do all arrive, what I believe would happen is they will quit. I need to stop yawning. I'm not even gonna cut these yawns out. I couldn't be bothered. What I believe would end up happening here is Kakashi would end up arriving way late, but Naruto wouldn't be pretty much even awake to notice it. And when Kakashi does arrive, Naruto would just be passed out by a tree. So he would pretty much just be told the time, and when he wakes up, he would think, you're 3 hours late? Definitely gonna need a teacher to be on time when you give us a certain time period, Kakashi. He would stretch as Kakashi would be like, alright, bell test. Naruto would be like, yeah, come at you with the intent to kill. Whatever. Did you really think I wasn't gonna do that? He would smirk and think, can finally let loose for once. Naruto would begin stretching, and at this point, as soon as Kakashi would say go, Naruto would smile as he would blitz at Kakashi with speeds Kakashi hasn't seen from any other ninja he's ever faced before. Naruto is genuinely shocking Kakashi, even faster than my guy with the gates open. Naruto, when he blitzes at Kakashi, he would throw a thunderous kick at Kakashi, which he would be forced to block with his forearm. But his forearm would literally like crack. Like his forearm cracks and Kakashi would let out a scream of pain. He would use a substitution jutsu to replace himself with a log, and before his arm could have been fully broken, a log would be put in its place, getting split in half. With Naruto looking at Kakashi's direction, thinking, what a sly one. As he would then begin to say, alright, how about this? He would use ki and chakra to reinforce his body as he would begin to scream and power up. He would say, beginning to charge up his ki, and his chakra would begin flaring out of his body, seeing as Naruto has like, I forgot how many times Naruto had more chakra than Kakashi. I think it was like 16 times. I don't know, but Naruto definitely had a lot more chakra than Kakashi did. And what I'm going to be saying happens is Kakashi seeing this aura coming off of Naruto would just be like, what even is this kid? Like, this is insane. This is insanity. But from here, Naruto would not even like bear an eye at this, and before Kakashi could even like react with his Sharingan active, mind you, Naruto would blitz at Kakashi's direction and like kick Kakashi so hard Kakashi gets sent flying into 3 separate trees, as all of them would crack in half, and Naruto would stand before Kakashi simply thinking, that's it. That's the might of a Jonin, the copy ninja Kakashi. What a joke. If only there was somebody in these lands capable of challenging me. He would proceed to then pretty much walk away, and in case you guys are wondering what Naruto's drip is going to be, I think that a good thing for his drip would definitely be if Naruto had a red bandana that he always wears around his forehead. He's going to be wearing the Leaf Village headband on his shoulder like Shikamaru does. He's gonna wear a hoodie most of the time, a pretty heavyweight one too, and some random ninja like pants that all the other ninjas wear, and then some random shoes. Cause why not? But his main like color scheme would be just black, just plain black. So what I'm going to be saying happens after this is Naruto would grab the bells off Kakashi, throwing them at his teammates, saying, "Here, you guys go on and pass. I'll just stay in the academy. Either way, even if I was to become a ninja, nobody in this world could probably even challenge me. Not even that damn geezer, the Hiruzen." As from here, Naruto would think, it's so boring. Now, obviously, many of you guys are probably like, "Hey yo, how is Naruto already beating Kakashi?" Well, my explanation for this is simply the fact that Naruto at this point has been training considerably a lot of years in his life, plus the fact that Naruto started off with a base power level of 50. At this point, after training for so many years, I think it stands to reason that Naruto would at least have a power level of 1000. Now, a power level of 1000 would pretty much equate to the same power level that Goku was by the time that he fought against Raditz. So I'm going to let you guys do the math and ask yourselves, do you guys really believe any character in the Naruto verse would stand a single chance against even that Goku? Yeah, if the answer is no, then yeah, and that's just Naruto in his base form. When Naruto chooses to power up, he could achieve a grand level of a power level of 2500, which is just completely insane when you put it in comparison to that of the Naruto world with the characters that are currently in play in the series. So I'm just gonna say Naruto would definitely be able to stop Kakashi. After this all happens, Naruto would proceed to pretty much just think, yet another day of being bored, as he would walk over towards Hiruzen's office and ask him why he has to remain a genin when clearly his skills can be better used in other areas. And, Hiruzen would simply tell him he has to stay with his team. But Naruto would say, "Tired of those basic answers, old man. I need a real answer. I need you to do something for me, or else." Hiruzen would say, "Look, Naruto, you're not going to get whatever you want in life by simply yelling about it. You have to be patient. You can't become Hokage with straight alone." Naruto would say, "You think I don't get that, old man? I've already understood what you mean with it. What I'm asking you is why I have to be forced to work alongside all of those useless runts. They're simply gonna hold me back. I even beat that Kakashi guy." Hiruzen would be like, "What? You beat Kakashi?" And from here, Naruto would say, "Look, if you don't put my skills to good use, I'll find another village that will put my skills to use." From here, Hiruzen would pretty much, his face expression would change from that of like just joking to serious, dead serious. And Hiruzen would look at Naruto as he's like, "So, you're gonna threaten to leave the village, Naruto?" Naruto would say, "It's not a threat, old man, it's a promise. This village is failing to use my talents to good use. So either you put me in a real squad or I leave." And from here, what I think would end up happening is Naruto would walk out of the office and tell what's it called? hmm. What should happen? Oh yeah, Naruto would pretty much leave the office, and from here, what I believe would end up happening is Naruto would end up essentially walking through Konoha until out of nowhere, a man with bandages over his face would appear before him. It's being Danzo. Now, by the way, in case you guys are wondering, where are you going with the story, Zether? I don't really know myself. This is unscripted, and I kind of just thought about this what if like 5 minutes before I even got started. The only thing I really thought about was the beginning. So the rest of this is kind of just me eyeballing it and seeing where it goes. So hopefully the story's good. If it's not, then I'll probably have to remake it or something like that. But in due time. Anyways though, guys, what I believe would happen here is Danzo would give Naruto an enticing offer that he couldn't refuse, giving him the offer of working under him and putting his powers to good use, giving Naruto worthy missions of his time. So what I believe would happen is Naruto would pretty much end up being like, "Yep, I'm leaving Team 7," and he would end up joining the ANBU, for Danzo. Now, many of you guys are probably like, so what about Team 7? Doesn't he end up being on the team? What about the Land of the Waves arc? The Land of the Waves arc, yeah, Naruto isn't going to be present there anymore. Instead, Hiruzen is going to pretty much be replacing Naruto with Sai. And this is all due to Danzo. Danzo, ever since he saw what Naruto has been wanting since he was a kid, would have pretty much been planting seeds early on, being like, okay, one of these days I'm gonna get my hands on that kid. And one of these days, he has. So, what I think I'm going to be having happen here is Danzo would tell Naruto that with all of this power, he could now become a Kage. And with Naruto being a young kid, I mean, he's Bardock's reincarnation, but he's not exactly Bardock. He just has his powers and abilities and a slight tad bit of his personality, but not exactly all of Bardock's intelligence and his quick wits that allowed him to pretty much be like, yo, Frieza was fooling us. He's gonna do something bad. Naruto at this point is being blinded by the power that he possesses and how he believes he should pretty much be the ruler of, well, everything, I guess you could say. So what I think would end up happening here is Danzo would end up pretty much manipulating Naruto into essentially trying to take Hiruzen out with him. So Danzo and Hiruzen would end up pretty much posing a threat to Hiruzen. And how I believe that this is going to be happening is by the time the Kakashi and Team 7 are out, simultaneously my guys team would also be out and Danzo would be remaining in the Hidden Leaf Village with Naruto there. So by the time that many of the capable ninjas in the village would leave, Danzo would end up walking into Hiruzen's office. And how I believe all of this would play out is Danzo would look at Hiruzen saying, hey, we need to discuss something, Hiruzen. From here, Danzo would walk inside, and from the shadows would be lurking Naruto, who is masking his presence by pretty much like lowering his chakra. No, not lowering anything, but lowering his key signature, so his presence can't be felt by anybody. So what I think would end up happening here is what should I have happen? Oh yeah, Danzo would proceed to continue talking to Danzo would continue talking to Hiruzen, and the conversation would go something like this. It would begin with Danzo saying, old friend, I think it's time that the Leaf Village started anew. The way that you've been ruling this village has left us powerless. The other great nations have begun to take more power as the years have gone by, and with the loss of our great Jinchuriki, it's only going to be a matter of time before this village gets attacked. The rest of the other villages have already grown wary of the fact that we do not have a Jinchuriki with our hands, and that is making us look weaker, Hiruzen. Day by day, you are simply letting things slide, and this village is growing weaker and weaker by the second. Somebody needs to do something about it. Hiruzen would hit his pipe and be like, and what do you think you're going to do about it, Danzo? This village obviously isn't just going to be changing with a quick thing from this village isn't going to be changing from day to night. Danzo, as from here, Danzo would say, I understand that. But with me, it could change rapidly. He would say, Naruto. As from here, Naruto would come in from the shadows and say, ah! Shooting a ki blast right at Hiruzen, setting him flying out of the Hokage's office, landing onto the ground, heavily damaged. And at this point, Danzo would land in front of Hiruzen saying, old friend, had you simply given this young man the power that he wanted, let him join your ANBU, this would have all been prevented. But instead, you let him fall with me, and I'm going to make sure that his abilities are put to good use. Hiruzen would look at Naruto and be like, are you serious, Naruto? Your father would be disappointed. As from here, Hiruzen would have a flashback to Minato with a smile on his face and a young Naruto who had pretty much killed his own father and mother. At this point, what I believe would end up happening is Danzo would proceed to essentially look at Hiruzen, and without even letting him finish his sentence, he would coldly say, goodbye, old friend. as he pierces Hiruzen's heart, ending Hiruzen's life. From here, the village would then be taken control over by Danzo, and by the time the Kakashi's team comes back, he would end up finding out Danzo was taking full control over the Leaf Village. Word would begin spreading around other great nations, and it's at this point that Jiraiya would hear the word and end up pretty much returning back to the village a lot sooner than he does in canon. The Akatsuki at this point would have already captured a bunch of other tailed beasts, but at this point everything is pretty much falling into this domino-like effect where everybody is pretty much getting ready to fight against each other. Now, with Danzo being here to pretty much like guide Naruto into a darker and darker path every day, Naruto's power would grow by the second, with Danzo actually training Naruto, putting Naruto through rigorous exercises and having a bunch of his ANBU members pretty much attack Naruto with the intent to kill, with Naruto pretty much refining his attacking and dodging abilities by having to dodge all of the ANBU members for hours on end in order for him to pretty much strengthen his spatial awareness abilities, you know what I mean? So that's how Naruto's been training with Danzo. A couple of weeks would go by and the gallant Jiraiya would end up arriving at the village. When he heard about the news of Hiruzen losing his life, he immediately began to pretty much close his little research experiments and make his way back to the village. And as soon as Jiraiya ends up arriving, he would immediately search Danzo out, since Danzo is pretty much the leader and Naruto is like the shadow Kage at this point. But Naruto would look at Jiraiya and Danzo would simply nod his head, as Jiraiya would say, "Naruto, is that?" Seeing the blue eyes that Naruto has, and the fact that, you know, he ended up hearing that Naruto had black hair instead of blonde from Hiruzen from a couple of letters, he would end up pretty much being like, "Naruto, is that?" But by the time that Jiraiya realized, you know, what was going on, Naruto would blast Jiraiya out of existence, using a brand new move that he developed, a gigantic beam that he forms with two hands that is able to pretty much annihilate someone with nothing but one blast. So, Jiraiya was no more. After this, the rest of the other 5 nations would pretty much grow suspicious of what happened in the Hidden Leaf Village, so they would end up sending out a couple of messengers to find out what's going on in the Leaf Village. When they find out that it pretty much got taken over by someone else, they would decide that this would be the best time to take the Leaf Village's resources and pretty much take the village for themselves. So what I believe would end up happening here is the Hidden Cloud Village, seeing as they're like the most the Raikage is the most like confrontational Kage. I think he would be the first to send a couple of shinobi at the village himself, with him actually being one of the main hitters. And it would be a huge army of people. Now they would all pretty much stand outside of the village and say that this is going to be a hostile takeover. If they all simply surrender now, they will all be spared. And this is when one man would walk outside of the village gates, as he would be confronted by the Raikage and a bunch of shinobi, as well as Killer Bee. And as he walks, the Raikage would say, "What are you doing here?" But Naruto would simply say, "Oh, you know, just passing by." As suddenly, Naruto's eye color would begin changing, as it would flash from that of black to like a strange golden Ozaru like color. And I'm pretty sure many of you guys could guess what this is. This is the power of the great Ozaru condensed within Naruto's body. After all these years of training, Naruto was found out how to use the power of the Ozaru without transforming into one. Because Broly could do it without a tail, I do think that Naruto would be able to do the same. So from here, the Raikage would activate his hidden lightning cloak jutsu and blast at Naruto's direction. However, Naruto would pierce the Raikage in a similar fashion that Goku did to Recoome in the Frieza saga. If you guys remember, when he pretty much elbowed him right in his stomach and caused Recoome to just like lose all sense of pretty much everything around him. After this, Naruto opened his mouth and blasted half of the army away, and Killer Bee, seeing this, would transform into his gigantic eight-tailed state. But when Naruto sees this, he would think, how fun, a Jinchuriki. This will be interesting. He would clasp both of his hands together and say, Double Sunday! As from here, he would shoot a gigantic beam at it, completely eviscerating everything. Now, it wouldn't be too far from there that the other villages would pretty much end up being like, Ayo, like, did the Hidden Cloud Village get like just destroyed by the Hidden Lake Village? I heard that they were going to attack it. You know, the rest of the Kages would be like, the Leaf Village just obliterated the cloud. Clearly, they're more powerful than ever. So the other 3 villages remaining would be like, we have to join forces to take out the Hidden Leaf Village. And the Akatsuki would be like, what do? You know, we haven't heard of the Nine Tails like in such a long time. And the other 3 villages are going into attack. If we have any chance of defeating them, the time would be now. So at the same time that the 3 great nations are pretty much going into attack Konoha, the Akatsuki would also be getting ready to attack the village. And with that, what I think would end up happening here is everybody from the other villages would pretty much be getting ready to attack the Hidden Leaf Village, and Pain would pretty much glide over the Hidden Leaf Village, pretty much getting ready to use the Jibaku no, not the Jibaku Tensei, but the Almighty Push Jutsu. But before he can actually use that jutsu, Naruto at this point would end up flying up into the air. Keep in mind, this isn't immediately afterward. This is something that they ended up planning for months. So Naruto had extra months to pretty much train with his ki control, and he ended up learning how to fly. With that ability in mind, Naruto ended up pretty much destroying the Diva Path in air before it even had the chance to use the Almighty Push. And afterwards, Naruto would activate his great Ozaru Wrath, and from here, he would obliterate the Akatsuki and the great nations. It would be a scene so similar to when Madara obliterated the 5 Kage, and he was like, do you want the clones to use the Susanoo? That's how bad of a beatdown Naruto would put onto all of them. Naruto's power level after training for months would have grown. Kakarot's power level went from a measly like 25,000, take it or leave it, to like 100 something thousand training for a couple of days under harsh gravity and like intensive training. So I think that a Naruto who had a couple of extra months to train, learned how to properly better control his ki, and also has the abilities of chakra, would definitely have a power level of at least 10,000, the canon Bardock power level, and would definitely have ended up growing up into a true Saiyan-like warrior, a truly ruthless man. And being put under these conditions, being manipulated by Danzo, this Naruto was pretty much doomed, because now he's just trapped in this cycle of being a pawn to Danzo. Until later, when he eventually will realize it, eradicate him, and then there will be nothing left for Naruto, because his power ended up pretty much destroying everything. But hey, that's just a theory, a what if theory. Please let me know if you guys get the reference down below. No, but seriously, that's where What If Naruto was Bardock's reincarnation, the movie, is going to be ending. If you guys enjoyed today's video, then please do make sure to go down below and let me know by smashing that like button, as well as let me know what are the what if you guys would like to see next. And also let me know what if you guys would want to see next, whether it be Naruto or a Deku. Comment hashtag Deku if you want to see a Deku what if, and hashtag Naruto if you want that. With that being said, I love each and every single one of you guys. It has been your boy Zether, and I am signing out. Peace.